This is a controversial take, but Dia, the browser, it's getting kind of good. It's kind of turning into Arc.
Arc browser is dead.
One of my favorite features in Arc, which is spaces.
Of Chrome in favor of a new browser, Arc, that I found to be a really good experience.
Its parent company, known as the Browser Company, announced a while back that they were pivoting their focus to a new
this browser. It's like clearly not finished. There's tons of features that they're obviously planning on.
That's how many people are there. The good news is that this will be my last video about Arc, almost certainly.
Combine that know-how with
Atlassian
and our 2 decades of understanding how teams and knowledge workers live and breathe.
I got near and dear friends in my life, family members, that I just couldn't get to use Arc.
How we're gonna make money.
You know, maybe the best thing that ever came out of the browser company and Arc and then moving to Dia or whatever was actually inspiring other people to create the Zen browser. And I love the Zen browser, and I think a lot of other people on the internet, people that really liked Arc, that now are moving to the open source Zen browser, which runs on Linux distros, by the way, and works perfectly great on Windows and Mac. I think a lot of people like it, except there's one problem about the Zen browser, and that is that it is Firefox based. You know, I love Firefox to a point, and I absolutely love the idea, but the problem is the internet is optimized for Chromium, and for those that don't know, Chromium is the backend to Google Chrome. It's an open source project as well, but basically Google controls it in short. I was actually one of the first people to say that the Arc browser was dead because they were ignoring it and it was basically end of life. Yes, it still exists, but they only get Chromium updates, so there's no real optimization or concentration. There will never be a good version of Arc on Windows, or certainly not Linux, and it was pretty much dead when I made that video, but I got so much backlash at the time I actually unlisted it, and I very much regret that. We'll try not to make that mistake again. Now, as the story goes, the browser company was founded by Josh Miller and Harsh Algra in 2019, and interestingly enough, at least to me, it took 4 years, and in 2023, Arc was launched. I think people fell in love with the idea of the company behind the software that they love more than the company itself. Now, the whole idea about the browser company, through Josh's words at least, is that technology had been moving forward. People were working on web apps, there was all these different workflows. Basically, everything about your computer had upgraded and changed, but more or less, the web browser experience was the same. And back in the day, people didn't really live on the web or work on the web the way they do now. So the idea of Arc is to create an operating system for the internet. Now, if you're watching this video, you probably already know what Arc is or was, because it's pretty much dead now, but they did a pretty good job. It wasn't the first of its kind like some people might think. It had, in my opinion, it did the best out of all of its competitors. And many of its competitors would also copy it once it got that cult following. They moved the tab bar to the side and allowed it to be hidden, which is by far my favorite feature and my must-have on any web browser going forward. Once you go side tab, it's hard to go back. They also had spaces and the ability to change profiles and have different Google accounts, Microsoft accounts, or whatever on just easily accessible going back and forth. You could pin tabs. There was a feature called easels, which was a digital canvas where you could put websites there and draw lines, and it was kind of like Excalidraw, but more corporate and integrated into your OS in a way that allowed you to save all your different stuff that you were thinking about and doing. It was pretty darn cool, and when I installed it, it was like basically no going back. Over the next couple of years, Arc would grow. They had really high quality YouTube videos, and other YouTubers went crazy, integration with Notion, and on and on. It didn't have massive public adoption, but the users that did adopt it had a hard time using anything else and ended up loving it. Josh has always been the front man for the company, and at this time, everybody adored the company and him. There was really very little negativity. Even when there was bugs or setbacks, there was understanding from the community. You gotta understand how much people love this browser. There are still people in denial about its downfall. But from the get-go, it had one fatal flaw, and that was massive venture capital. People wanted a return on funds, and at the beginning, while it was growing, and debatably even now,
board meetings like completely change the trajectory of where we go. And so it's important to be prepared. The board is actually this entity that has like a lot of say in what you do. For instance, they can block options. And then the other side is these are really smart, strategic people who've seen a lot and we need help. I have faith that would continue over and they'd have our backs.
How we're gonna make money.
They were doing that old Silicon Valley thing where it was grow over everything, get as many users as possible, don't worry about how it's going to be profitable or anything like that. And during this time, ChatGPT exploded in popularity and Josh got jealous. Now, they were definitely trying to integrate AI and other features in Arc and charge a premium for it. But very few people actually wanted to pay for their OS. And according to Josh, okay, you get your mom to download Dia and it works like Chrome, but it doesn't really make sense because she's only downloading it because you're her son, and yeah, she knows how to use it, but is she gonna really use chat unless she accidentally triggers it by typing out something too long in the search bar? Because if you don't know, if you type out something too long in the search bar in Dia, it won't search, it will talk to the chat. But regardless, as you probably know, they took all their focus and they put it towards Dia. And Dia definitely at the beginning kind of sucked. It's basically just a simple wrapper of Chrome without all the Google features and with the Dia chat, which they were mostly using ChatGPT models that were kind of like an agent if you use ChatGPT Pro, but if you don't, it's just like a reprogrammed version of ChatGPT that has search abilities. Now, they were a little bit ahead of some of the bigger players of putting search on, but when search was integrated into ChatGPT and Google and everyone else, and now even OpenAI has their own browser, well, it kind of like the main feature in Dia was kind of out the window at that point. But then more recently, they were acquired.
That same company who's just making what this OpenAI thing was, they're selling to a company who
that is pretty funny.
Bought it for what, $700 million?
It was 610 million.
The browser company was acquired right before all these...
No, actually, it gets better. The acquisition went through yesterday, which is the same day that ChatGPT Atlas came out.
Released the thing that they just bought.
Now, some people were hoping that they would bring back Arc because many of the people that were high up at the company that acquired it really were fans of Arc, but it seemed that that was probably not going to happen, and they were basically just going to use the AI features and the web browser features because you can pin tabs and stuff, to basically overlay their very flawed software in customer service to basically use artificial intelligence to artificially fix their product. So just like de-bloating bloat with more bloat, I guess, is the angle. Now here's where my take comes in. Now I still have Zen installed everywhere, and Zen is a great alternative. Like I talked about at the beginning, there's lots of videos about it. Was inspired by Arc and built open source and is everything that Arc could have been or should have been, but built on Firefox instead, which has its drawbacks. So I still have that installed and it's still sort of my main browser, but more and more I find myself using Dia. The first time I used it, I had it and I uninstalled it, but then I got curious like a few months later after hearing some things about it and was very pleasantly surprised. The first thing I noticed is they brought back side tabs, and at first it couldn't hide, and I was like, what is the point? I would rather have it up top if that's what gives me more space. I don't want like half my screen being tabs, and it all just seemed kind of dumb. And their chat feature is cool sometimes, and this is the place you go. At least in my opinion, I use Dia to work with like Google products and things that are stealing my data anyways. It's not a privacy thing, right? It's like, I don't know, I haven't done the research, but I assume it's probably one of the least private browsers you can use. But to get work done, it's kind of cool. So they brought back the side feature, and now you can hide it. And now you can pin tabs. And a lot of those Arc features are starting to make their way back into Dia. And now if you prefer not to have sidebar, I can't remember, did Arc have top tabs? I don't think it did. I never used it if it did. I know Zen took it away, but that's neither here nor there. But regardless, more and more Dia is basically becoming Arc, but with more AI features that are more integrated in it. Now, it doesn't have easels, it doesn't have a lot of the features that people loved about Arc, but some of the very important features that people loved about Arc, it does have. And it seems like every update you get more and more. Like literally just today, the day of this filming, they added the ability to combine tabs into folders. And about a week ago, they added the ability to rename tabs. And they have pinned tabs. And then also they have all the Dia features. And honestly, I like hardly ever use their AI features. Like I have T3 chat, which is funny because the person that runs T3 chat really doesn't like Josh or Arc anymore. He was one of their biggest supporters and arguably one of the reasons why Arc got so big. But whatever, that's for another video.
You also like burned a huge bridge with me. Like the way you talked shit on me as one of your biggest supporters for being concerned about your move. After I got you an unbelievably large number of users by talking about your thing and making a whole dedicated video about why I liked it. To be clear, I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm trying to make it about people like me. Enthusiasts that didn't just bet on your browser as their browser of choice, but brought others along with them. This hurts them too. You didn't just hurt your reputation with this, Josh. You hurt mine. People take my recommendations less seriously because you betrayed your core users.
It's definitely not perfect. It's not the most optimized. It's not gonna like save your battery or whatever, but it works far better than Arc does now because again, they're ignoring Arc and they're just kind of like gutting it for features in Dia. And at first I think they had a very different idea, but now that they've been acquired, I do think the people that are working at that company
with Atlassian
were big fans of Arc and are now taking features they liked in Arc and putting it into Dia. Now, it seems to me many people, and I've been one of these people, is you have this idea that you're going to download a browser and that's going to be like your browser for the next 10 years. And I just think technology moves too quick for that. I think Zen is going to be around for a long time, and maybe Firefox and Brave will get better over time. And, you know, you have your like staples. I don't think of it as like a permanent solution. I think it's working right now, and I didn't like it when it first started. I was one of those people very upset. I was on Reddit like, you know, I'll never download anything from the browser company again. But there's definitely some innovative people working at the browser company, and if they're gonna build a browser that works really well, I got a place for it in my life. Now, I'm certainly not saying that Dia is perfect, or that you should even use Dia versus other browsers. If you're happy with your browser, of course, stay on whatever browser you're using. And I would say, like, I support Zen wholeheartedly. That's the one, like, I think you should be using. I have several browsers downloaded, but I've been finding myself using Dia. I don't think Josh's idea of taking over Chrome or going against OpenAI is most likely going to work out. And actually, there's quite an argument to be had that he's already failed because, well, he sold it, and it's kind of going to be purposed in a different way than he originally advertises. And honestly, I don't even know if I believe him that that was his vision. It may have always been to be acquired by a bigger company. He might not like the company that he got acquired by, but regardless, also, Dia has many of the same problems that Arc had, but just now in Dia, and it has less features. But what I am saying is that I've been using it, and it's been enjoyable, and I've found myself, when I'm using Mac, usually using Dia instead of Zen, just because it's kind of more fun and newer and fresher to me. I used Arc, then I moved to Zen. Well, actually, first I tried a bunch of other Chrome-like browsers, but I eventually moved to Zen, and that became my default, and it remains my default on everything. Well, everything. I think the whole story is really interesting, plus it is products that I think revolutionized the internet. That's what's interesting about the Dia Zen Arc thing, is like, even though like Arc isn't really like a viable product anymore, it did change the way the world uses the internet, or at least a niche of the world uses the internet. So please like, subscribe, and I'll either see you in the next video or I'll see you in the next live.